Tangerine girl. Tell them what's up today.
What's up, Tangerines? Thank you for joining us today on this episode of We're Back in Guadalajara for a day.
Because as we told you in the last video, we had to come back here to get more dog food.
Since they use it all up. Down to the point. So, a couple people asked us when we made the ugly side of Ajijic, well, you guys supposedly say that you like it so much, why would you say all these things? Basically, so many people were saying that they were spending hundreds or even thousands of dollars to come visit Ajijic or even potentially to come live there. We felt a little bit obligated to show both sides of the story.
We can't have you guys like uprooting your entire life to come to a place you've never been or spending thousands of dollars to visit a place you've never been because of our telling you it's awesome without telling you the other side of the story.
Exactly. With that, people were like, well, you spent so much time in Guadalajara, why didn't you do anything there? Well, to be perfectly honest, there's so much about Guadalajara that we really like, and that's why we stayed here for the majority of the time that we've been in Mexico. We didn't even think to make a video like this because there aren't really any details here that strongly stressed us out or that we sort of felt were deal breakers or things like that.
Yeah, but we thought long and hard to put a list together. Not kidding, like we had to think hard.
Pretty hard, but there are some, and perhaps these would be deal breakers for you, and since people have equally, like Ajijic, said that they are making plans to come to Guadalajara after seeing our videos, we thought it's about time to make this one too. So we're making a quick stop for dog food here in Costco, but we'll start to tell you the first thing on the list.
Traffic.
Although we didn't really ever notice this within the city while taking Ubers or anything like that, it does get pretty congested in and out of the city and at certain times of day, obviously rush hour times.
And I think the worst part of driving here are the glorietas, the roundabouts.
Yeah.
It's horrifying.
So yes, the glorietas, those are extra confusing. It can sometimes be like 8 lanes coming up to this roundabout. There's absolutely no rules inside of there. It's a free-for-all. But it's certainly in Guadalajara, it's the most chaotic and confusing driving we've experienced in all of Mexico, with the caveat that we have not yet been to Mexico City, and we're told that that is as bad as it gets.
Jeez!
Oh my gosh. The next thing on the list, which is very fitting because it just happened, our very first interaction with someone in Guadalajara.
We have a lot of trouble understanding people here when they speak Spanish.
Va a quedar igual en la hoja, pero en la información ya va a quedar correcto, ¿va?
No entiendo.
02055. Repite, por favor. No sé la última palabra. Lo siento. ¿Puede hablar con mi novia?
¿Cuánto tiempo llevan aquí?
What a classically perfect example of this is just the way that people talk in Guadalajara, really fast, really smushed together, really difficult to understand. Vivimos aquí por 3 o más o menos. 6 meses. And so begins a horribly humiliating conversation where we try to keep up and try to make small talk, but ultimately we're going to talk in circles.
¿Ya se van a quedar aquí a vivir o...?
I've listened to this in my headphones while editing this like 300 times with the volume as high as I can do, and I still have no idea what he's saying right here, so the fact that I even answered this in the moment, I don't even know what I was doing. No, vamos a continuar. And we've hypothesized about what exactly this might be, the dialect, the...
Talking faster, using more contraction, mushing words together.
Different vocabulary words. Perhaps that it's that people here are much more educated than in other cities. Pretty much everyone we ran into was either going to school, had been to school, a professor at a college or something like that. Lots more education here, so it's very possible they're just using much more complex words than we at this point have learned. Whatever the reason is, it's pretty difficult to understand people here if you're like us learning Spanish. But since being in Ajijic, we're back to having basically full conversations in Spanish. No
Can
issues.
Understand almost everyone.
Yeah. In our last video, we mentioned that we're learning Spanish.
Not our last video, one before.
In 2 videos ago, we mentioned that we're learning Spanish with Rocket Languages, and that's pretty much how we feel has been the most successful and all-inclusive among the programs and methods that we've been doing.
It's pretty much our go-to software program. One of the really cool things about it is they have a ton of audio lessons, which if you've tried learning a new language, one of the hardest things is getting comfortable speaking the language, and this helps you do it and gets you speaking full sentences.
So it's more than just
quickly.
memorization, it kind of puts it into practice, which is really helpful. thank you to all you guys who actually checked out Rocket Languages from our recommendation and either started a trial or purchased it. We're curious to know what you think of it after you've used it for a while. And for anyone else wanting to learn Spanish like us, we put a link down in the description.
And that link goes to a free trial of it where you can sign up, no credit card required, to try it out.
And if you do end up purchasing it, we get a commission from that, which helps us continue traveling and putting out videos about Mexico.
So a lot of times when we talk about Mexico in general, we say that people are more laid back and it's a slower pace. Well, that's not as much the case here. I would say people are more of a rush where we came from in Phoenix.
This was the first city where I actually noticed that people were honking all the time, which we mentioned something before getting to Guadalajara about like how crazy it is that people aren't so impatiently honking at people if they don't go the second the light turns green or something like that. But that is not the case here. There is a lot of honking. People are in a rush. They've got things to do, places to go, and people to see. Next thing on our list of the ugly side of Guadalajara is that with more people and more cars, yes, it is a bigger city than most, you're gonna have a little bit more pollution. And this wasn't something that we really noticed in the neighborhood that we were living in for 4 months.
But in certain parts of the city, it's really noticeable.
It can be pretty bad. As well, I don't think this is the worst pollution that we've ever seen.
So we're standing in front of one of the famous glorietas right now, or roundabouts. It's a weekend right now, so it's not as busy as normal, so it might not look as crazy. But with lots
it still looks crazy, but it gets crazier.
With lots of people comes a whole lot more noise.
And again with this wasn't really like a deal breaker for us. Where we were living was relatively quiet, but depending on the part of the city, it could be a little bit too much for you between the buses and the motorcycles and the people playing random music. It's a little bit more than like Symphony of Mexico sounds, like chickens or roosters cock-a-doodle doing.
Or someone driving down the street selling whatever it is they're selling.
Yeah, it's a little more than that. So depending on the place, that could be kind of an ugly thing you have to deal with. This one sort of ties into these previous ones that we just mentioned, but it's not the small town Mexico vibe, the quaint, unique type vibe that you might find in San Blas or Ajijic or Mazamitla or someplace like that. This
probably goes without saying, considering it's the second biggest city in Mexico, but we get a lot of people saying like, hey, I really want the laid back pace, and it might not be here.
And exactly, you might find that this is a good transitional place for you because it's very similar to Houston, Texas. So if you're sort of looking for a not quite full-on Mexico, but still Mexico, of course, this is a great place for that, but it doesn't have that small town vibe. One of the things that we missed while we were here on this topic are those small stores that sell produce and vendors that are selling their artesanías. And yes, you can get it here, especially from places like Tonalá and Tlaquepaque, which are very close to the city, and in small patches. But
unlike in small town Mexico, it's not like it's on every street corner or once a block.
On this one, we do recognize that the sidewalks and the streets here are much better than in many cities that we visited. Like Ajijic, for instance, where just about all of the streets are cobblestone and many sidewalks are either very small or don't exist.
Here, the sidewalks are typically much larger.
Sorry.
But there's lots of trees that destroy them.
Yeah, completely uproot the sidewalk. So if you, for instance, are in a wheelchair or have injuries or something like that, sometimes it might be a little bit difficult to get around.
One person commented one time saying that if you have a house and there's a tree right outside your house destroying the sidewalk, you're not allowed to do anything about it.
In addition, if you wanted to build a wall or something, you can't cut the branch of a tree off. You have to build the wall around the tree, branch or trunk or whatever.
Yeah, and apparently there's like some particular government agency that is responsible for all that, and I don't know, it seems to me that they do a shit job.
Or maybe there's just too many trees. I find this like a unique aspect of Guadalajara, so I don't really mind it. It's kind of just like, oh my gosh, look what this tree just did.
I mean, sometimes I think it's pretty cool when a tree is swallowing an entire sidewalk, or a wall is built around a tree, or like a tree is swallowing a telephone pole. I don't know, I think it's pretty cool sometimes.
But if I was in a wheelchair, I think it was less cool. So it's worth noting.
Compared to other cities we've been in Mexico, there are some things here in Guadalajara that are more expensive as compared to other cities.
And we do realize that some of this is a little bit of like a first world problem, so please cut us a little bit of slack here, but we still want to mention it anyway.
Yeah, if you're coming here thinking, oh, I'm going to be able to get really cheap massages and haircuts, nah.
Might not happen.
Yeah.
Other thing is lavanderias. We checked out, I don't know, a dozen throughout the city because for one reason or another they were too expensive, not good, stole my shirt, something like that.
Yeah, we noticed the lavanderias here for getting our laundry done were about 50% more expensive than other cities we've been.
And those are just a few examples. Worth noting as well, not everything is more expensive. We think food is comparably priced, drinks are cheaper here than in other cities, and so there's a lot of things that are equal as the small towns, sometimes even less. Wow! Señor! Señora! Wow! Wow! I think I got those some cats on film. Just said film, like we're using film. This is a digital device. Next thing on our dirty list, ugly list.
Our dirty list?
Is
what kind of video is this?
Not that kind of video. Is that during the rainy season, there are parts of the, here I go, tripping on sidewalks. There are parts of the city that flood. So depending on where you are, that could be a serious issue because it is literal flash flood status, like flood an entire mall.
And these are no joke. This is cars getting
taken away by water. So again, we didn't have to deal with that while we were here, but that is certainly a word of caution depending on where you are in the city during the rainy season. Again, I enjoyed the rain. It rains at night, it rains a lot, and I've never experienced that in my life growing up in Phoenix, Arizona, where there's only one time of the year where it rains a smidge.
By the way, rainy season are the summer months, and it typically rains in the evening or at night.
Next thing is, although there is a ton of nature here, lots of trees and flowers, and it's really nice, one thing that we really loved about the city, there aren't a whole lot of parks, and I wouldn't really say that you're living with nature in Guadalajara. It's more buildings and concrete, cars, so it's mixed in there, but it's not quite the same.
Don't trust looking on Google Maps looking for the green spots, because one time we booked an Airbnb and we're like, oh great, we have Alaska and we're right next to a big old green spot.
Huge park.
Oh, we're next to a huge park. Turns out we were next to a huge cemetery.
In my defense, there was a park right next to it, so on the map it looks like it's naming the park, but yes, it's a cemetery. So some person actually did tell us in the comments as well that Via Recreativa, which is every Sunday you can bike, skateboard,
they close
walk,
down
run.
major roads in the city.
Yeah, all over the city. They said that they do that because there aren't enough parks per capita legally or by some standard.
Although we loved it here in Guadalajara, there's certain parts of the city that we know we wouldn't have been happy in if we're living here.
In fact, there was one part of the city where we stayed in for a week and it was a little bit on the sketchy side, which...
Yeah, we wanted to get out of there.
That's the case in any city at all. So while this is a very safe city, and we mentioned that multiple times, we felt comfortable walking around at night, we didn't feel like someone was out to steal our stuff, there's just some parts of the city that you might want to look out for.
Yeah, and if you're considering moving here or coming to stay here longer term, then come here, book an Airbnb in several parts of the city, and be sure to check out various parts, because you don't want to end up in the ugly side of Guadalajara.
So I hope you guys could please keep in mind that we've made dozens and dozens and dozens of videos about Guadalajara and the surrounding areas, and you're probably not going to find a whole lot of negative stuff in there or complaints from us. Why? Because we really like it here, and we would happily live here again.
When we came here, we were traveling from city to city, checking out every city, trying to find a place that we would love to live in. We came to Guadalajara, we had another Airbnb booked in Guanajuato, and then we came back to Guadalajara after that because we just really liked it here.
Yeah, so honestly this video is intended to be just educational for anyone considering coming here. Perhaps one of these things might be the straw that breaks the camel's back and would make it a place that you might not like. So anyway, let us know your guys' thoughts. Do you think we're right about this, wrong? Did we get anything spot on, or do you disagree with all of it? Let us know in the comments.
If you like this video, give it a thumbs up.
And subscribe to our channel to see more videos that we are currently actually putting out in Ajijic, but traveling through Mexico. And one last thing, gong that bell so you get notified the next time we put out a new video. We'll see you there.